9.9 divided by 9. Okay, average variable cost equal to variable cost divided by quantity. Variable cost means total variable cost. Total variable cost is this whole amount. Here, this whole amount divided by its respective quantity. Now, average total cost, you have two ways. Number one, if you divide total cost with the output, or just add all these. With variable cost plus average fixed cost, you will get the same number. So if we draw this, so let's take a breakout room activity, not breakout room activity, individual activity. All you have to do, well, just wait. Let's understand the concept of marginal cost, and then we do the breakout room activity here. So here, marginal cost is the cost of producing additional 1 unit. All right. So don't be confused. How much does it cost to produce additional unit? Simple. So marginal cost formula is change in total cost divided by change in quantity. So can you find out the marginal cost as well here? So where this 0.5 is coming from? So whenever we calculate the margin, it will be written in the middle. So this 0.5 is coming from this middle. So corresponding, what is the total cost? Total cost is 3.8 and 3.3. So change in total cost by the change in quantity. The change in total cost is 3.8 minus 3.3 divided by 2 minus 1.5. All right, where this 1.7 is coming from? So this middle corresponding cost is 9.3 and 11. The change in total cost is 11 minus 9.3 divided by 8 minus 7. Answer going to be 1.7. All right. Now, this is class activity 1. So those who are watching online, please pause the video. And all you need to do, draw a curve of output, marginal, draw the curve output on the x-axis, marginal cost, and all average cost, which means average fixed cost, average variable cost, average total cost, and marginal cost on the curve. So cost on the y-axis, quantity on the x-axis. You need to draw on one plane all these 4 curves. Okay. So those who are watching online, please pause the video, and those who are here, please take a screenshot. So this is not a breakout room activity. This is individual activity. So I'm going to pause the video until we have done. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes to do that. Okay. So I will be resuming recording after 10 minutes. Okay, guys. So we had our first class activity. So the activity was that we need to draw marginal cost and all the average cost, all the average costs, which means average fixed cost, average variable cost, average total cost, and marginal cost. So here we go. So I said that on y-axis, the one interval is equal to 0.25, and on x-axis, the interval is equal to 1. Okay. So if we draw, your drawing would be like this. So this would be average total cost, this would be average fixed cost, this would be marginal cost, and this would be average variable cost, right? So you can compare your curve to these curves. Okay. So what we have learned from these curves. So the purpose was not just to test your graph skills, that you can draw these graphs or not, but we have here very useful information to discover. So number 1, we'll talk about this, I think, after 5 minutes break. Let's have a tea break. I think 10 minutes. Okay, let's have a tea break and then we start, because from this there are many, you know, important conclusion we are about to make from these curves. So don't just look at them as just curves and that's it. These are not crazy curves. These are telling you very meaningful information. So let's meet after coffee break and then we start from here. Okay, class, welcome back after the break. So we were discussing before the break the curve. So let's talk about the characteristics of this curve. So did you notice something here? That average fixed cost is decreasing, right? But never touches to x-axis. Please confirm that, right? Guys, I would be needing your 100% participation. Om, Malaysia, Ella, Mark,
Yes.
Nicola, Lancelot, okay? So please answer me. When, if you see the average fixed cost, it's always decreasing when quantity is increased. So when quantity increase from here from 0 to 10, the average fixed cost is decrease, but never touches to x-axis or 0. All right. And then did you notice something? The average total cost decreases with increase in production. Right? So let's learn one by one. So the average total cost is like a U shape. So please confirm that. It would be like, if you extrapolate, it would be like this. The average total cost is like a U shape, right? At very low levels of output, average total cost is high because average fixed cost is spread over only a few units. So what are the reasons of this? If you see fixed cost is decreasing and then it started to increase. So it's like a U-shaped curve. All right. So this is the marvel of economics, that as quantity increased, average total cost started to decrease. Guys, you follow my point?
Yes.
When quantity increase, you see, average total cost is decreasing. Look at this average total cost. We have learned that when you produce more, when output is more, your total cost is more. But average total cost is U-shaped, means it decreases up to a certain point and then started to increase. Okay, one more time. This is very crucial point here, even for your own business as well. As you started producing more, average total cost started to decrease. Average total cost is started to decrease, right? But when you cross some point, what is that point we will discuss later. You cross some point later, average. Okay, so we were discussing, this is the marvel of cost of production, that when you started to produce more at initial level, the average total cost started to decrease. And when you start producing more, after some point, average total cost started to increase. All right? So average total cost started to rise because average variable cost rises substantially. So why it is decreasing at start? Because average fixed cost is declining, and remember, the average total cost is equal to average fixed cost plus average variable cost. At low level of inputs, because average fixed cost shape is always decreasing, right? So at low levels of production, from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, when you start increasing your production, average cost started to decrease because of average fixed cost. And when it started to increase because of average variable cost, because average variable cost started to increase when you produce more. Look at your average variable cost. It's also started to increase, right? It's like this, increases, okay? Now, the bottom of the U-shaped curve occurs at the quantity that minimize average total cost. So if you see over there, the bottom of the average total cost, this bottom, where average total cost is at its minimum. All right? And that point is called efficient scale. According to your graph, you go to the graph here, this point where average total cost is minimum, this point is called efficient scale. Which means if you produce this much quantity, your average total cost will be at its minimum. And when at its minimum, recall your profit formula. Total revenue minus total cost. So your total cost will be minimum. And your profit will be highest. So isn't that was it's our goal to maximize our profit. Maximize of profit means minimization of cost, and we discussed that we are going to decrease our cost to that level where we can have the maximum profit. So we call this efficient scale. Why? Because if you produce at efficient scale, your cost will be minimum. So the bottom of the U-shaped curve, which is average total cost, is called efficient scale. Now, when marginal cost, what is the marginal cost? Marginal cost that crosses all the costs. If you see your graph here, so this red line is the marginal cost.